Hello YouTube. Welcome to another edition of the Gravestone Pros with North Country Memorials. Really glad that you're here to join us today. Hope you enjoy this video. If you can do me a favor, put a like on this video, leave us a comment, and you gotta subscribe. Hit the little bell so that you know when we post new videos. That would be really great. We'd appreciate it. Come along for the ride. Today's going to be a little different video. I want to tell you a story. My father, Curt, went for a ride on his motorcycle a couple weeks ago, and I got a message from my mom at 9:20 at night saying, "Hey, Dad went for a ride. Have any of you seen him? He's not home." And immediately I thought, that's very strange. None of us ride much into the dark hours. It's just not something we do as general practice. But trying to make her so she wasn't too concerned, I said, I'm sure he'll probably be home. He probably just got talking to somebody or something, but I was definitely concerned. I called her and said, hey, try and log on to his iPad and let's see if we can use the Find My Phone feature to find out where he's at. And she tried to get on. We had just set up a new iPad for him the day before, but he changed his password to a 6-digit PIN from a 4-digit PIN. And I only knew his 4-digit PIN, so she wasn't able to get on. So I said, well, do you want me to come over? She said, nah, you're probably fine. I said, well, if he's not home in an hour, I'm definitely going to do something, because that's definitely very odd, and he would never be out that late. I waited until 10:30, and at 10:30, I got my clothes on, and I went out the door, called my mom, and asked her if she wanted me to start looking for him, or if she wanted me to come over. She said, come over. I got there. And she was definitely very concerned. I think she was thinking worst case scenario. And she definitely seemed worried for sure. And I was definitely feeling worried. I talked with my sister on the way over, found out she'd already been driving around looking for Dad. And she was down in the area we knew that he was last in. And so she'd been driving around looking, and some other people were looking as well. So I got to my mom, and I said, what do you want to do? Do you want to go out and look? What should we do? And she said, well, I want to go down and see my parents and be with them. And I said, okay, well, let's go down there. But first, let's put notes on the door, letting him know that we're looking for him and to call us in case he does show up while we're gone. And she said, okay. So we did that and a few other things. And I was like, I wonder if we could get into his iPad. And I kind of checked. And then she said something about, maybe his password is in the book. And I was like, oh yeah, he asked about the book yesterday when we were setting stuff up. So we went and grabbed the book, which was sitting right next to his chair where he had been putting the iPad, getting everything together the day before. And sure enough, in the book, there was a 6-digit code. And so I grabbed that, ran over, and logged into his iPad. At the same time, my mom received a phone call from my cousin. And he said, I'm here with your husband. He's okay, here he is. And I could hear her talking to him just as I was finding the location on the Find My iPhone app. And sure enough, it logged right into where, showed right about where he was. And that's right where they described. And so at the same time I finally found it, he was found, thankfully. But then, I could hear him saying, I'm okay, but I've got a broken leg. My back is probably broken and my ribs are broken and I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm going to be okay. And he reassured my mom right away, calm down. We're going to make through this. Just go to the lazy river, which just meant to them, just be calm and relax. There's nothing we can do but to relax. And so I knew when he said that he must be in a pretty good mental state. He was worrying about Mom. And so I was kind of glad to hear that from him, because I knew that meant he was fairly clear-headed, even if he was in a lot of pain. So we kind of got some stuff together. We said, all right, we'll go over there. He had to let her go pretty quick, but, it was comforting to talk with him. And so from that point, I said, okay, what do you want to do? He's probably coming to Lowville. And I said, well, he might end up going to Syracuse. I said, but he'll probably come to Lowville and then go to Syracuse. Maybe you should pack some clothes. So she packed some clothes and different things. I went and took those signs off the door saying, we're looking for you, Dad, call us. And she got some stuff together, and I said, all right, should we go to the hospital, or where do you want to go? She's like, well, let's go down to Grandma and Grandpa's. At that point, I got a phone call saying they're going to airlift him straight to Upstate Medical in Syracuse, New York. And that is a level 1 trauma center, and by far it's the best place to go if you've had any kind of accident. So I said, well, if they're taking him straight from there, if you want to see him before he goes to Syracuse, we better go right now straight to where he's at. If we stop at Grandma and Grandpa's, we're going to end up missing him. And so she didn't like that idea of missing them, but she wanted to go and see him, of course. So we went straight there, and we got to where they were going to be getting the helicopter at was at the fire station, so they ambulanced him over to there. And as we were getting close to the fire station, I could see the ambulance pull in, and then we pulled in 20 seconds later right behind them. And we could see there's a lot of people working on Dad, everything, doing all this stuff. And a good friend of ours who's on the fire department had responded to the accident call and then had went back and secured the site for the helicopter to land and take off from. And it was comforting to see him, and there was a lot of friends there and a lot of different people, my aunt and uncle and close friends. So it was just kind of chaotic, and it felt like, oh my goodness, all this is happening. What's going on? Is everything going to be okay? I know he said he's going to be okay, but, a lot of things. Knowing that he'd been there for a couple hours, thinking about, has he got internal injuries that we don't know about? There's just so many things that could be going on, and you're not sure, and you're definitely in shock. It's very, very difficult, but it was comforting to see him there. He talked to Mom a little bit. She went right over, and I just kind of hung back because I talked to him on the phone for a second, and I just wanted to kind of stay out of the way. And I felt like I was doing pretty good holding it together, but when my brother Corwin got there, I went over and gave him a hug, and I definitely shed a couple tears. It felt like I could relax for a second when I saw him. I was grateful that he was there, and that having him there made me feel less alone, made me feel like, we're going to get through this. And so felt like even though he's my younger brother, added a lot of strength to have him there and have him show up, and I was grateful to see him. We got to see Dad leave, and he took off in the helicopter and headed there. He was only about 25 minutes, I guess, in the helicopter, and he made it to Syracuse. In the meantime, we were trying to figure out what to do, and I was going to take Mom to Syracuse. And before I left, we were trying to find the cell phone that he had, because we'd all been trying to call him, of course, and nobody could get through to him. And so Corwin gave it another ring right after he took off, and it actually rang. And so I said, I wonder if maybe it was on him the whole time, and now he's in service now that he's wherever he's at. And I said, I don't know. So I told Corwin maybe he should go look for it, and I had brought a good flashlight, which he had given me for Christmas as a present, and I gave it to him. I said, oh, take this and go look, see if you can find it. I'm going to take Mom to the hospital. So I took her. We showed up at the hospital. By this point, it was middle of the night. It was like 1:30 in the morning, something like that. And we got there. They said he'd already been there a while, and the doctors had checked him out and everything. He's stable. And so we were grateful to get that news. And then a few minutes later, we were able to go in and see him. And he was definitely banged up, but he seemed like he was with it. You could tell that mentally he was doing okay, but definitely in quite a lot of pain. And so we talked a little bit to him and asked him, what had happened. And he said he was riding his motorcycle, and when he left a buddy's house, and he said, well, I'm going to head home and going to dodge some deer. And the buddy, of course, knew we'd alerted him that we were looking for him, and he actually was close by. So once he found out where he was at, he went and saw him right on the scene. And when he saw him, the first thing my dad said to him was, well, I guess I didn't dodge that one. And it's typical of something Dad would say, even in the middle of a moment like that. It's so hard that he would think of something funny like that. Doesn't surprise me, and it was nice to hear. But yeah, he definitely looked banged up, looked like he was out of it, and there was still a lot of unknowns. He was going to have surgery, which he ended up having surgery then the next day. And they put a pin in his leg. They found out that his back was broken, some of the vertebrae was broken, and so that was going to have to heal up on its own. They weren't going to do any kind of surgery on that. So he has to wear a neck brace, and he just is recovering slowly. He's got some ribs that were broken as well, like he thought. Kind of made me chuckle. Of course, he self-diagnosed himself before he ever got to the doctor, which is typical Dad. Anytime there's something wrong, he normally is pretty spot on with a diagnosis. So Didn't really surprise me that he knew what his injuries were, and there wasn't anything really that surprised him when he found out from the doctors what was going on. So that was definitely a dad moment. And thankfully, he got back, and he's home. And so the footage of me working on this board was a piece of equipment he needed to be able to move around to get on and off his wheelchair to the bed, and the bed to the wheelchair, and back and forth and so on. And so that's the footage I've been showing here, is me building that. And he actually didn't even need that, only for a couple days, and he was starting to pull himself in and out of bed a little bit easier and stuff. And so it's been a long road. It's been a tough journey, and there's a lot of miles ahead yet. He starts physical therapy in the next week or so here, and then we'll know a lot more about how long I think the recovery process is going to be for walking and getting back up. But he saw the doctor this week and had a good report. Looked like stuff was healing and doing well, so was thankful for that. But definitely appreciate your thoughts and your prayers. And it's going to be a tough road, but Dad's attitude is always really good, and he's not one to wallow in the disappointment and to really get down and depressed. And so he's right at it. Right away when he was home, he wanted to see people, and he had a ton of friends and stuff over. And next week we'll show you the reunion of him getting home that day, and just a massive turnout that he had. A lot of love and a lot of support from our community, and we're pretty blessed and pretty grateful. So anyways, that's the story. You won't be seeing as much Dad on the channel probably for the next little while. He certainly won't be doing as much work, but knowing him, he'll be back at stuff before you know it, and that'll be great. But Jordan and I are doing our best to hold down the fort here, and we'll continue doing that. So we appreciate you coming along. Hope you enjoyed my story and hearing what's going on, this little update for us. It's been tough, but it's been good. And, we're grateful. We're Christians, and we believe in God, and we draw strength from knowing that even when we feel out of control and we don't know what to do, that He's in control. And there's been so many things, even through the hardship, that we can say, God is good, and He's taking care of us. And there's been many times in our life where things are hard, but it seems like in those times are times when it seems like God shows up and shows Himself to be real and take care of us. So He loves us, and He loves you too. I want you to know that. Thanks for coming along. We'll see you next time. Bye.